Women Summit organized by Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum. Before introducing this session's topic and our very cool, inspiring speakers, let me first introduce myself. My name is Zeynep Bilgehan. I am a journalist working for Daily Hürriyet newspaper based in Istanbul. I've been working as a field reporter for more than 12 years, actually. And my main areas of coverage are refugees, conflict resolution, civil society, economic development, and human stories. And among these, my favorite is definitely to report on human stories, on inspiring people who do not take the comfort of living their own life, but putting in effort to improve the lives of others, changing perspectives, mobilizing to do good. So I'm so excited today to moderate this session titled Female Activism and Participation, Challenges and Successful Examples. Before I introduce our speakers, I'd like to say a few words on our topic, female activism and participation, of course. Basically, on Cambridge Dictionary, actually, activism can be defined as the use of direct and noticeable action to achieve a result, usually a political or social one. When you hear it like this, it's really easier said than done, I suppose, especially in this era where pandemic bans all kinds of mobilization, and when all odds are against you. How do you do it? It's really easier said than done to be active. But there's always and everywhere, if there's will, there is hope. And sometimes in difficult conditions, just, I believe, being there, participating, raising a voice, or even listening can be a step forward, just like this meeting today. I see that there are more than 100 participants from all over the world, and it's really valuable, I think, to spare time and listen to these very inspiring people's stories and meeting with other people, raising hands, asking questions, making comments. So I thank you all, first of all, for inviting me, and for all the participants for being active, being in here, participating to this meeting. So at this session, we'll hear from four amazing women, actually, who refused to go with the flow and took a step to shake the status quo of their surroundings, made a difference that inspired not only their own environment, but affected many, actually became role models to many, not only young women, but to everyone. I think everyone who feels like there should be a change in the environment, in the surroundings they live in. So I'm sure that it was really extremely interesting and inspiring to hear how they overcame the challenges on this path, because we all know that, you know, like when you're active, being active naturally attracts challenges as well. And it's also really important to hear how we overcome these challenges. There are very much, there are lessons in these stories, I believe. So our first speaker is actually a worldwide known young leader, I suppose I can say now, Ala Salah. I guess everybody knows who she is. The image of her has been dubbed as Woman in White or Lady Liberty of Sudan. This image, you know, it was just an image. Can you imagine that spread all over the world? And I suppose we can say that, right, Ala, that it's helped fueling a revolution that made a drastic change, changing an administration that was there for 30 years, which, you know, like after some point, I guess you think that things can never be changed, but here we are, and a change was possible. So I will say no more, and we will hear Ala. She will make her speech in Arabic. I think there will be a translation for English, which Ece mentioned. Yes. I don't know how technically it will be done. I think Ala will speak, and then
sentence by sentence it will.
Okay. All right. So the floor is yours, Ala.
Could you please open your microphone, Ala?
الو، سامعني كويس؟ تمام. الو.
We can hear you, Ala.
اوكي تمام. بداية حابة أقول شكرا إنه أنا الليلة معاكم، وبرحب بالزميلات اللي معاي من مختلف أماكن العالم اللي هم فيها. وأنا الليلة هنا عشان أتكلم عن تجربتنا عن الثورة في السودان. الثورة ما بس قامت بين يوم وليلة، الثورة كانت هي جوانا من فترة من الزمان.
لا.
يعني
I will tell her Parvin, dear Parvin. Okay. السلام عليكم أستاذة آلاء.
عليكم السلام.
أهلا بيكي. معنا في زميل راح يترجم لك باللغة الإنجليزية، فلو ممكن فقط تحكي شوي شوي بشكل متقطع، وهو سيحكي الكلام باللغة الإنجليزية. تمام؟
اوكي تمام.
شكرا
تمام.
شكرا، تسلمي.
آه،
If you can translate.
اوكي تمام. حابة من البداية يعني الفاتمة اللي
بس
قبل.
لو توقفي الآن هو يترجم الآن،
اوكي تمام.
يعني جملة جملة. تمام.
Okay.
شكرا.
So
اوكي
this is
شكرا.
time I will be translating Mrs. Ala's speech. Assalamu alaikum. I'm happy to be here, and I would like to thank everyone, and I would like to welcome all my friends who are attending this event. And today I'm going to talk about the experiences we faced in Sudan, which is the revolution that happened in Sudan.
تمام. فبنلقى إنه الثورة ما قامت بين يوم وليلة أبدا، يعني هي كانت فعل جوانا، بس الحصل إنه يوم 19 ديسمبر هي اتحولت لفعل في الشارع كل الناس قدرت تشوفه. لكن قبلها كنا عايشين وكنا بنقدم نضالات بمختلف النضالات اللي كانت بتقدم من الشعب السوداني، سواء كان النضالات السياسية، سواء كان النضالات المجتمعية. فكل إنسان كان يناضل بطريقة معينة. بس اللي حصل إنه يوم 19 ديسمبر كانت البداية الفعلية لإنها تترجم على أرض الواقع.
So the revolution didn't start overnight. When it started in December, then it evolved into a bigger, in a wider space. But even though before the revolution started, people were raising their voice in terms in a political, either in a political way or in going to the street.
أوكي. وبنلقى إنه 65% من المتظاهرين هم كانوا من الشباب، بتتراوح أعمارهم إلى أقل من 30 سنة، اللي هو دي الفترة 30 سنة دي الفترة اللي كان حاكم فيها النظام السابق، نظام الأخوان الكيزان أو الحركة الإسلامية. فكلنا كشباب مولودين في ظل ال 30 سنة ديل، الوضع في السودان ما كان مرضي بالنسبة لنا. إحنا قمنا وشايفين الظلم والفساد والاستبداد وانتهاكات حقوق الإنسان. فالوضع بالنسبة لنا ما كان مرضي، وما كان إحنا بنعمل إنه السودان يكون بالشكل ده. فبنلقى إنه 65% من المتظاهرين كانوا شباب. أول ما جات الفرصة عشان نقدم حاجة للوطن كانوا في طليعة الاحتجاجات.
So the youth were the vocal point in making the change, and around 65% of the people who were in the protests were from the youth. And the people also were fed up with the situation in Sudan for almost 30 years because of the corruption, oppression, and the actions practiced by the government by that time.
كمان بنشوف إنه الدور اللي لعبوه النساء في السودان كان دور عظيم جدا في فترة الثورة تحديدا. كان أكثر من 60% من المتظاهرين هم كانوا نساء. ده بنرجع كمان بنقول لإنه النساء في السودان هم كانوا أكثر فئة مكوية بنار النظام السابق. فأول ما جات الثورة كان الوقت إنه إحنا حنرجع فيه حقوقنا. بعدين الدور بتاع النساء في السودان لما إحنا نرجع لتاريخنا بنلقى إنه عندنا إرث نضالي عظيم جدا من جداتنا في السودان. من قبل 7000 سنة هم كانوا بيدافعوا عن شعبهم، عن حقوقهم من زمن الحضارة النوبية، الملكات والكنداكات. فعلى امتداد العصور وعلى امتداد الحقبة السياسية والمجتمعية بنلقى إنه النساء قدموا أدوار عظيمة جدا في التغيير للمجتمعات وفي التغيير للوضع اللي كان حاصل في مجتمعاتهم وكان ما مرضي. فالدور اللي لعبوه النساء مؤخرا أبدا ما كان جديد بالنسبة لنا، ده كان جزء وامتداد لتاريخ النضال بتاع النساء في السودان.
That was too long. I will try to make that. So what you're saying is the role of women was crucial in the revolution, as almost 60% of women of the people going out in the streets were 60% women, and also women were the most affected by the regime which was in power during that time. It's also that it's not a new thing that women were revolting and like raising their voice for their own rights, as this had been seen before around 7,000 years ago. So the role of women has been always in existence, and they play a crucial role in the society.
من الحاجات المميزة ثورتنا جدا إنها كانت محافظة على سلميتها لحد اليوم، رغم العنف ورغم الاعتداءات اللي كانت بتتم من قبل القوات النظامية، إلا إنه ما جربنا على إننا نستخدم ضدهم وسيلة أو سلاح غير سلاح السلمية. يعني كنا القوات النظامية كانت بتقابلنا بالرصاص الحي، بتقابلنا سيل الدموع، بالاعتقالات، بكل الانتهاكات اللي كانت بتتم، بس إنه الرد بالنسبة لنا كثوار وكأنه قلبنا على الوطن كان لازم إنه نكون متمسكين بسلميتنا، لأنه هي السلاح اللي إحنا قادرين نحارب به، نقدر من خلاله نحقق مطالب ثورتنا.
So the revolution was peaceful, even though it was met with force and violence, but the people kept peaceful and they were protesting peacefully without causing any, without wreaking havoc or vandalism in the streets. Even though they were met with violence, the revolution was peaceful.
تمام. لما نجي نتكلم عن المراحل اللي مرت على الثورة بنلقى إنها بدأت بمواكب واحتجاجات. بداية كان التنظيم لأنها بتكون مواكب رئيسية معلنة في نصف الخرطوم، يعني في قلب العاصمة. كل الثوار بيتجمعوا من مختلف الأماكن اللي إحنا عايشين فيها، لأنها بيكون موكب واحد موحد بينطلق من قلب الخرطوم. بس الموكب الطريقة دي خلتنا نفقد عدد كبير جدا من الشهداء، بسبب إن التأمين أو الحماية بالنسبة للثوار ما كانت كافية، لأن هي منطقة كانت مكشوفة جدا للقوات النظامية، فكان صعب جدا إن نقدر نأمن نفسنا، نأمن المداخل والمخارج. فمن بعدها تحولت لمرحلة ثانية. من بعد المرحلة الأولى اللي هي كانت مواكب مركزية، بعدها تحولت لمرحلة ثانية.
So the revolution started like, a public gathering where people communicated and they met in one place. And this gathering was in the heart of the capital, which is Khartoum, the capital of Sudan. And due to that gathering, and the people didn't have much security to protect themselves, many people were lost, were died basically because of that. But later on, as the revolution started as gathering in centers, then it expanded to not just be gathering in one place.
بعدها المواكب اتحولت لمواكب مدن وأحياء. الحاجة اللي كانت ثابتة إنه كل خميس من كل أسبوع الساعة 1 ظهرا بتنطلق المواكب من مختلف مدن السودان. الساعة 1 تماما ده كان توقيت الثورة. بنلقى إنه كل الثوار من مختلف الأماكن اللي إحنا عايشين فيها في السودان بننطلق على الساعة 1 يوم الخميس.
So when the revolution started to expand, then every Thursday around 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock was the time for everyone to gather, and all the people were coming from their neighbors, from their areas, and they were going to meet around 1 o'clock. So there was a specific time where people had arranged before that, so they meet and they continue to protest and raise their voices.
كمان حابة أذكر بأنه الموقف في الساعة 1 بينطلق بزقروطة نسائية. الزقروطة هي إحنا في السودان عادة بنستعملها في المناسبات السعيدة، اللي هي زي ترنيمة يعني أيوي أو حاجة هي بالشكل. طبعا هي بتختلف من بلد لبلد. فكانت الساعة 1 صافرة انطلاقة الموكب بتكون زقروطة من البنات.
So when the people gather and they start to go out, they before they start, as a way of motivating, they use the zagruta, which is by the women. Zagruta is like like they do it in weddings. So they used to do that during the protest before they go to the streets.
تمام. بعدها أثناء فكرة المواكب بتاعت المدن والأحياء، كل موكب كان عنده مطلب معين. كان كنا عندنا شعارات معينة بنرددها، عندنا طريقة معينة. المواكب صراحة كانت بتتعرض لانتهاكات وبتتعرض لاعتداءات من قبل القوات النظامية، بداية من ضرب الرصاص الحي، ضرب الغاز المسيل للدموع، الاعتقالات التعسفية بتكون مصاحبة للمواكب. فبيكون في عدم أمان، يعني حتى وإحنا في طريقنا عشان نصل الموكب ده بنكون معرضين نفسنا للاعتقال من طريقة لبسنا. إذا لابسين طريقة حاجة معينة، ممكن القوات النظامية يكون نفسهم تقول لهم إنه هو الإنسان ده حيمشي موكب، فبالتالي نقوم نحتقله. فكان بتحصل اعتقالات قبل بداية الموكب واعتقالات كبيرة جدا بعد نهاية الموكب. إذا كنا شايلين علم السودان، دي كانت في حد ذاتها ممكن تعرضك للخطر بتاع الاحتقال. فالوضع الأمني كان صعب جدا عشان إحنا نقدر نطلع من بيوتنا ونوصل مكان الموكب ونقدر نأمن على نفسنا عشان نرجع بعدها. كان الوضع صعب شديد، بس كنا متمسكين بنضالنا وبأنه عارفين إنه ده الطريق اللي إحنا اخترناه عشان نحقق شعارات ثورتنا ونحقق حرية وطننا.
So as the people were going out of their neighbors, as we said, and they were going to the gathering place, during the way there were police forces where they will be enforcing violence against them, so they to prevent them from going to the gathering. But even though the people didn't give up and they continued, and there was also the danger of being arrested, because if you are wearing in a specific way or in a specific way that that make you identifiable as one of the protesters, the police is going to be arresting you. But even though the people didn't give up and they continued to protest and going to the gatherings happening during that time, and every group and people were raising different boards with different words. Everyone had their slogans and their wants, what they want, and they were raising those in boards.
بعد شهر من الثورة طلع وخاطبنا الرئيس المخلوع عمر البشير وأعلن على فرض حالة الطوارئ في السودان. تحديدا في اليوم ذاك ومن بعد خطابه بالنسبة لنا كان مستفز جدا. السودان شهد أكبر احتجاجات ليلية في اليوم اللي يتكلم فيه، يعني من بعد خطابه تماما كان أكبر احتجاجات ليلية. السودان كان لحد ثاني يوم الصباح كلنا في الشارع وكلنا يعني زي كأنه في موكب، لكن بالليل مش بالنهار. يعني العدد اللي كان بالنهار بقى مضاعف أكثر، إنه بالليل ده نتيجة لرفضنا التام لأي حاجة ممكن يقول الرئيس المخلوع، لأنه هو بالنسبة لنا المكان اللي هو فيه مسألة زمن وحينتهي. إحنا ما شايفين إنه مفروض إنه هو يكون في المكان ده، لأنه هو عمل على إنه يدمر السودان ما يقدم السودان. فكان بالنسبة لنا ما مقنع كلامه، فثورنا أكثر. يعني اليوم ده تحديدا كان أكبر تظاهرة ليلية شهد السودان.
So as the revolution intensified, the taking down or the outgoing President Omar al-Bashir enforced the emergency law, which says that no one could go to the streets. But even though the emergency law was in effect, the protesters went out to the street and the number of the people doubled. And that was to show that we are revolting against what you say. So we are not listening to that, and we are going out to raise our voices in the street.
بالنسبة كمان بالإضافة للمواكب والاحتجاجات كانت مصاحبة لها عدد من الوقفات الاحتجاجية بالنسبة للطلاب في الجامعات، بالنسبة للموظفين في المؤسسات بمختلف أشكالها، سواء كمؤسسات حكومية أو مؤسسات خاصة أو شركات، ما كان بيفرق. فده بيقودنا لأنه كلنا كشعب كنا رافضين سياسة النظام، فأي زول من المكان اللي هو فيه حاول إنه يعبر بطريقته. فكان عندنا إضراب شامل، عصيان مدني شامل، وقفات احتجاجية في الجامعات، في المؤسسات، في المستشفيات، في الأسواق، في كل السودان كان بيكون في وقفات احتجاجية بنفرض من خلالها إنه بنوصل رسالتنا إنه إحنا رافضين حاجات معينة، يعني حتى بنكون واقفين بلافتاتنا وبشعاراتنا عشان نوري إنه إحنا صوتنا حاضر. دي حاجة كانت عظيمة جدا، إنه بتوري قدر شنو إنه كل الناس قلبها على السودان وكل الناس متوحدة وعشان ما إنه نصل لحريتنا في الوطن.
Hello, Naif, I'm sorry to interrupt, but for the best usage of the time, after translating this part, could we give a break? And I think Allah has a video to show, and then we can continue maybe this part at the question and answer session. Could you also translate that to her before translating the other things that she said?
So during the protests, each group had their own way of showing their protests. Like the students, the workers, they were striking. There were strikes everywhere in hospitals, in schools, in public institutions, and that was like a way of sending a message that our voice should be heard and we should get our freedom.
Allah, we need to make a break at this point, and I think you have something to show as well.
Okay, tamam.
So let's do it.
من الاحتجاجات للمطالبة بتنحي الرئيس عمر البشير.
Thousands have been demonstrating in Sudan demanding President Omar al-Bashir. ذات السجل السيء في مجال احترام حرية التعبير شنت حملة قمع على الجميع.
هذا ذكر المفرق بين المتظاهرين المحتجين في العاصمة السودانية الخرطوم.
ارتفع معدل التضخم في السودان إلى نحو 73%.
الجامعات كذلك معطلة من الوزارة والحكومة.
يوثق بأن صحفيا اعتقلوا على هامش الاحتجاجات.
هناك أزمة في الفحولة.
يلا يا أولاد المدارس.
ادونا بس أسبوع، خلي ثاني راجل يرفع راسه.
هناك كتائب بالكاملة يعرفون
98% شذاذ الآفاق.
The Sudanese Professionals Association.
ما بات يعرف بتجمع المهنيين السودانيين. تكتل يقود الاحتجاجات ويحظى بتأييد واسع والتفاف شعبي.
تغيير الحكومة وتغيير الرئيس ما بتم بالواتساب ولا بالفيسبوك.
خدعة مبرشة لكشف هوية رجال الأمن.
حجبت السلطات السودانية مواقع شهيرة للتواصل الاجتماعي.
قصاصه شنو؟ هو قتل مش كده؟ وإعدام.
هو المستشفى بدون مستشفى مدرمان عساكر دخلوا.
بحيرك في العساكر ديل وفي ضرب بغبينه ما يعني ما ضرب ظاهر.
ولدي ما نخف، ولدي ثبت.
فرض حالة الطوارئ في جميع أنحاء البلاد لمدة عام واحد.
عشان الرقم والطوارئ.
اعتصام رأي الكيف في الخرطوم.
I've been selling my name for the sake of who knows. I've been trying to explain.
يا من أنتم حول عمر البشير.
I don't take my
صوت الثورة السودانية.
for granted. I've been waking up tight day after day, is taking its time.
مساجد نادرة للهتاف.
I'm gonna hold on tight to what I've been handed. I'll try not to complain about the things I've lost.
لا لذلك النظام قد تحفظ على رأسه بعد اعتقاله في مكان آمن. فعل التنازل عن هذا المنصب.
الجيش العسكري حتى اللحظة يقياد في تسليم السلطة للمدنيين.
كانت المدارس جميعها خارج منطقة الاعتصام.
Don't take your life for granted. 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 Why don't you hold on tight to what you've been handed? Oh, oh, oh,
القيادات العسكرية بالتخطيط لفض هذا الاعتصام وحدث ما حدث.
ما تم من اتفاق وإضافة تفاوض مع هو إعلان الحرية والتغيير.
حياة متوقفة ومحال مغلقة وحركة شبه منعدمة.
don't take your life for granted. Don't take your life for granted. Don't take your
رسالة 18 إلى جميع شعوب العالم. نعتذر عن 30 سنة من الغياب القسري عن مساهمة الدولة السودانية في تنمية الشعوب وفي الدفع بها نحو الرخاء وتمام الحقوق وسعادة الإنسانية.
وسألتقيك بالBBC لأذكرك هذا الحديث بأن شعبنا أدرك النظام البشير وأقام دليله الذي يستحقه.
دعونا نتفق على كيف يحكم السودان، وتظل مسألة من يحكم السودان نتركها لخيارات هذا الشعب العظيم.
تحقيق شعارات الحرية والسلام والعدالة والمدنية الكاملة.
إنه حصل فيها تكاتف السودانيين باختلاف مواطنهم الجغرافية، حتى تكاتف بين كل فئات المجتمع السوداني.
National Documentary Award goes to director Suhab Ghaznawi for talking about trees.
مليون سلام يا شعبنا، مليون حباب.
ستموت في العشرين.
كل اللابسين أزرق، الممثلين، Blue for Sudan، شكرا.
Blue for Sudan. Social media to raise awareness about the crisis in Sudan.
راشفورد العرب المعصري.
سويت الأداء بهدف رائع، هدف جميل. هديل أنور في السودان.
أحسست بالعظمة فقط من كوني كنداكة من كنداكات السودان.
للفنان الكبير صلاح المنبابي كل الشكر ولثقته الملهمة.
وسوف تأتي أنت هنا في هذه القناة وتقول أن علي محمود حسنين قال في يوم كذا أن هذا النظام خطأ، والشعب السوداني سيحاكم كل من أجرم بحق الأمة، سينشئ المحاكم في كل مكان.
وليس بعيدا عن الأسلام
الظالمون لا لن يعودوا من عاد عدنا.
يا والدة ما تبكي خلي الوطن يبكي، أنا حاسس بيه وحبيبي.
قالوا رجينا من أجل القصص.
I felt like, you know, we all had our moments. Yes, it was powerful. So thank you, Ala, again, for your beautiful speech and very, very strong emotional video. Well, during your speech, actually, I thought, you know, like one of the most important things that you said was that the revolution did not start in a night. And the role of women in changing society was really, really important. And you said that 60% of women were on the streets for this effort. And that made me thinking, actually, 60% is a lot, but how did the first woman get out on the streets? Like, how did it all begin? So from there, we will get to our next speaker, Ms. Zara Mohammed. She's the Secretary General of the Muslim Council of Britain, and she's the first woman to lead the organization in its history. She's also the youngest one. So I'm sure she will tell us all about her journey, her adventures, how she got there. But as I said, I'm really curious on how it is to be a first. How do you get the first step? How do you go against the water? How do you silence all the no-nos around you?
Okay, assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you so much, Zainab, for that wonderful introduction. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'm truly honored to be amongst the world of the audience of all of you amazing, incredible women. And especially Sister Allah, thank you so much for sharing your powerful and inspirational journey with us all. I think, you know, it's been quite a blessing. This is actually my 3rd month in term, so I've just started on my journey in leadership. And I was elected as the first female in the 23-year history of the Muslim Council of Britain's leadership. And I'm actually the youngest at 29 years old. And also the first Scottish persons born in Scotland but Pakistani background. So I'm absolutely delighted to share some of my lessons in leadership, as well as some of the challenges that I've had to overcome in getting here, as well as the resilience that I have to show in staying in leadership, because sometimes you get elected and then you realize that the actual job is pretty hard work. So, you know, absolutely. So I've always been very passionate about community work, about sharing my religion, sharing Islam with others, and helping people to understand that, you know, as a Muslim, we're here as to service the whole of humanity, you know. And, you know, I think as a visible Muslim woman, someone who wears a hijab, in a non-Muslim majority country, there is always a challenge in helping people to build that relationship with you and to understand. So from a very young age, especially when I was at university, I was very excited to coordinate events, bring people together of different faiths. And I think when I realized that part of my identity was this activism, this need to make change. And before I became the leader of MCB, I was actually elected the first female president of the Federation of Sunni Islamic Societies. So it's a massive umbrella organization in the UK, and we represent 120,000 Muslim students. I used to travel from Scotland all the way down to London to Cornwall. I went to Ireland, I went to Wales, I went all over the country, and I used to travel and go meet students. And everyone used to say to me, Zara, you're crazy. What are you doing it for? And sometimes I'd be sitting on the train, on the bus, and I'd be thinking, I'm so tired. Why am I doing this? And it taught me a very important lesson in the hadith from the Prophet, peace be upon him, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He says, be in this world like a traveler. And when you're on this journey of life, and what Allah taught me in that journey of leadership is that, everything changes, nothing stays the same. And in order for you to progress in life, you have to be willing to change. You also need to be very prepared, because otherwise you'll miss your train. And that's what happened to me quite a few times. So in this journey of leadership, part of it is letting go of everything that you feel is secure, going out of your comfort zone, traveling, meeting those around you, but also be willing to understand that if you're not prepared, if you don't know what it is you want to change and what the difference that you want to make, then you'll be on a train that goes anywhere and nowhere, okay? Because you don't know where you're going. So as a leader, you need to have a clear sense of vision and purpose. And when I joined the Muslim Council of Britain and joined the leadership team, at that point, I saw this massive organization and so much potential. And I had to say to myself, well, Zara, why are you doing this? What are you doing it for? And in all of our leadership journey, we have to think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A friend said to me that, how do you know if Allah loves you? He lets you wake up every day to do his work. Okay. And I just thought, wow, subhanAllah, every day I'm given this opportunity to make a difference. And so when I joined the Muslim Council of Britain as the Assistant Secretary General, I had this opportunity to make another difference at a national scale. And I was part of the leadership team. I was taking care of the governance. The pandemic hit. COVID has been very difficult, but bringing people together, providing that guidance, providing that service. And then the question came, the election was around the corner, and everybody said, so Zara, what do you think? And I said, no way, I can't be that person. I can't lead an organization that big. Have you seen me? I'm small, I'm young, I'm not sure, and I had all of this, what we call imposter syndrome, this self-doubt. And it's waswas, right? It's the shaitan that says, you're not the right person for this. There's someone better, you don't know, you don't have what it takes, and all of these things. And so someone said to me, well, Zara, what did you do? I mean, you did run in the election. How did you get through it? And I have to say that, part of overcoming self-doubt and having good self-belief is surrounding yourself with a good support network. The Prophet ﷺ said, you're on the religion of the five around you. It's better to be in good company than bad company. And it's better to be alone than in bad company. So for me, it was absolutely so important to look to those around me and to say, well, what do you think? And everyone said, well, if you take yourself, put Zara to the side, why do you want to do this? What is the change that you want to make? And I said, well, I really think that, we as the young people are the future. Shouldn't we be the ones making the decisions? Shouldn't we be at the leadership table? Okay, yeah, that's quite good. Then I said, I might be young, but I have a lot of energy and I certainly have the passion. And isn't it about time a woman took the helm? So with that and a lot of encouragement and support, and as well as the trust of our members who had worked hard to serve, I ran in the election, and it was a very tough experience, because one of the biggest challenges we have in life is having the self-belief that if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. If you don't portray confidence in your ability to make change, people will not be confident in your ability. And if you don't step outside of your comfort zone, nothing will change. You'll be comfortable, but nothing will change. So I took a mighty leap and I ran in the election, and I had a very tough contender. I did a televised hustings debate, you know, which was frightening, but alhamdulillah, you know, it went well. I pushed myself. I had to make a lot of phone calls. I had to really say to myself, okay, if I get it, what am I going to do? And with the grace of Allah, I was elected, and, you know, I've been serving for 2 months. But what I'll say to you is that, you know, that journey again taught me a lot about sincerity, having ikhlas, but also having purpose and drive, and that the people around you are so important. They can make such a difference to the choices you make in life. So choose them wisely, but also you need to trust your gut feeling. You have to be that voice that's inside of you should always be the loudest voice. Don't let anybody else's voice be louder than your own, because you will find in life, and as I've now found in leadership, that a lot of people will give you opinions on what you should do. Our parents, our relatives, our husbands, our cousins, our friends, everybody has opinions on what we should do in our life, decisions we should make. And you should consider to yourself, when you make a decision that you are happy with, how you feel about that compared to a decision that was influenced by someone else. And in leadership, you know, leadership demands decision making. Leadership demands assertiveness, confidence, decisiveness, as well as the humility to know when you've made mistakes, and the humility to take feedback and to listen to those. And so it's been quite a mighty adventure. When I was elected, I had global attention as well. A lot of people were really interested, and people said, well, how can a Muslim woman lead such a big organization? And, you know, they said to me, you know, you're so young, you know, shouldn't you be 40 years old and a man? And I said, no, I think I'm fine. I said, I'm young, which gives me energy. It shows me I'm open-minded. And guess what? I'm here to make partnership with lots of different people, not just Muslims. I'm here to show the world who Muslims really are, and to say that stop defining us, you know, let us define who we are. Many were saying, oh, you know, can Muslim women, are they allowed? Well, yeah, they are. And guess what? It was majority men that voted me in. So there you go. Then the point being here is that, you know, we have to, as women, as young leaders, we have to define ourselves, the narrative around us. We have to challenge it, and we have to speak for ourselves, whatever platform that is, big or small. You don't need to be the head of an organization to make a difference. You just need to use your voice, because Allah gave you that voice and put you in that position, that small circle of friends. It's not the likes of me that changes things. It's the likes of you every day in your conversations, in the workplace, when you share your religion, when you share your character with others. That is what inspires change. And for me, there was so much attention around me as this young leader. And I said, okay, look, stop. I don't want to do any more media, because everyone is asking me all these questions about everything to do with Muslims. And this isn't what I'm here to do. I'm here as a leader. Yes, I'm young, and yes, I'm a woman, but that's not why I ran. I ran because I have a purpose. I have some change to make, and I now need to get to business. And so I don't know how long I've got, Zainab, you can let me know, but how much time have I got? Oh, you're on mute.
You have 5 to 6 minutes.
Okay, great. That's good. So I can share some lessons of what's been happening. Yeah.
Yeah,
what the road of leadership has shown me.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I guess that first week was really tough, because there was so much media attention on me, and so many people wanted a piece, and I had to make a decision to say stop. I decide how much you get. Okay. And right now I'm not interested in that. So some of the things that I did very quickly was I increased the number of women on my national council. I co-opted 8 more women onto the board. I've already increased the number of Black Muslim community. We've got revert community, disabled Muslim representation. I said to all of my exec, I want all of your committees to be diverse. my agenda for change, diversity and inclusion, the representation of women, young people, and underrepresented groups. So International Women's Day came around, and what did I do? I did an event called Inspiring Young Girls to Lead. And I got the cutest 10-year-olds to 17-year-olds to come on a live session, and they could ask me whatever they wanted. So they said, how do you deal with bullying at school? I'm being picked on at school. What shall I do? I don't have any friends. I wear hijab and people make fun of me. They were saying, congratulations, they're so proud of me. And then I had one 10-year-old say to me, so 11-year-old say to me, Zara, I want to be a really good leader. How do I be a good leader? I said, just be a good 11-year-old and that will be enough. I said, life is stressful and, be your best self, believe in yourself and be confident. And the reason I did this session with young girls is because as leaders, we have to stay true to the people we represent. And if we are not connected to the young people and the people that our decisions impact, then we're just making decisions that we're not really taking responsibility for. So you have to engage with your members, you have to listen, and you have to remember that your relevance is only as the reality that you're in touch with. So those young girls taught me, Zara, mentorship is important. We need to share the learning that we have and create the pathway for many more to come. So I hope to launch, inshallah, a mentorship program and to encourage and inspire young girls to lead. Another one of my manifesto points is tackling Islamophobia, and I'm sure it's a huge issue for all of us, especially the way that Muslims are portrayed globally. We've become this other, this alien, and we have a long way to go. But although Islamophobia is really important for us to tackle, we must share the message that this is not just a Muslim issue. This is a societal issue. It's a global issue. Wherever there is hatred and division, it is the responsibility of all of society to challenge it. And so I call on you all, ladies, to continue to build those alliances, friendships, and partnerships, interfaith across society, because our religion is so beautiful. It should be shared in the way that it is, not in the way that people label it. And finally, I think continuing to support Muslim communities through this pandemic, particularly mental health is a big area of work that we need to do better in, economic recovery. In the UK, and I think even in the Muslim world, some of our countries are some of the poorest in the world, and we've seen the way that the pandemic has affected it. We have a duty to support those communities, to provide reassurance. Ramadan is just around the corner, a beautiful month of reflection and contemplation. And if I can leave you with just a couple of final messages, what I would say to you is, number one, believe in yourself, be confident. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. Number two, surround yourself with exciting people who will also give you a reality check and tell you the truth when you need it. Number three, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Step in, don't step around it, don't step and avoid it. Have the bold conversations that are needed and step up to the plate. Number four, talk to Allah when you feel sad and when you don't know what to do. Pray and ask for His help and He'll guide you. And then finally, build a network of change. We don't need to solve all the world's problems on our own. That's why all of you wonderful ladies are here today, because we can do it together, inshallah. So build that network, build those relationships, and share the load, because ultimately all things are with Allah. We just put in the effort. So thank you so much for inviting me and for giving me this opportunity to speak. And hopefully I didn't talk for too long.
No,
may Allah accept our efforts.
Actually,
may Allah accept our efforts, inshallah. Ameen. Thank you.
Perfect. We thank you, Zara, for both being perfectly on staying
on schedule.
In your time. And also you wrapped up your conversation so perfectly in the end. There's nothing for me to say, because I was preparing myself to say, Zara, she gave us the good combination, the good recipe of how to be a leader. But then, she wrapped it all for us, actually. And I was thinking, the voices that we hear, all of us, I suppose, what are you doing this for? What am I doing this for? Why do you bother? Why would you get out from your comfort zone? I suppose that number one, your among your suggestions, number two was my actually favorite. I want to surrounding yourself with people who support you, who tell you your mistakes as well, but the right people, I suppose. So thank you so much, Zara, for your speech. And as I said, your recipes, I think we will all benefit from them. So now, let me introduce you to our third speaker, a social activist and feminist from Somaliland, Uba Ali. Here, right? I've seen her.
I'm here, yes.
Can you please say hi? Hello. So, Uba Ali, in 2018, she founded the Solace for Somaliland Girls Foundation, which aims to end the practice to end the female genital mutilation practice through education and awareness campaigns. And she is also a survivor of this practice. She was listed by the BBC as the world's most influential 100 women this year in 2020. So let's hear her on how her campaign began and how she overcame the challenges she had faced. The floor is yours, Yuva.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Wow, what a great, powerful speakers. Thank you guys for sharing your stories and your energy and how you're all leading a positive change in the world. I was particularly inspired by Alai's story and how she led this strong movement, and she was a part of this movement that changed Sudan forever. So thank you so much, Allah, and we really appreciate what you're doing. And of course, as a Somali community, which I am a member of it, we are leading the way for change. So if you allow me to share my screen, yeah. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
So, thank you so much. So I'll be sharing like my journey and what brought me here and where I came from. So my name is Oba Ali, and I'm from Somaliland. For those of you who don't know where Somaliland is, it used to be a part of Somalia before 1991, and now it's an unrecognized state, and it's self-governed. So you can Google it to know more about it and how Somaliland made it to this way for the last 30 years. So I'll start back and reflect on my journey. So especially my education and why I became an activist. So for my family, we are 8, including me, and I have four brothers and 3 sisters, and the girls are the older ones. So I remember when we were young, and I was always being told, don't go to school, because at the end of the day you will get married and there's no need for you to go to school, because for the Somali community, educating the boy was their priority, because at the end of the day when the girl gets married, like she will be like a housewife, and it doesn't matter, like her education and her hard work will not pay off at the end of the day. So I remember like a lot of people telling my mom, like, do not send your girls to school, save the money, so your boys at the end of the day they could go to school. So, and I was the oldest, and those things used to annoy me so much. And deep inside me, I was sure that I want to make a difference, that I want to lead and be an example for my younger sisters, that something positive could happen in our future. But if we stuck in this stereotypes, we will never change anything. So I remember even me going to school, my primary school, and like teachers even will underestimate me just because like I wanted like to be the forefront. I wouldn't like answer the questions, but because I was a girl, like teachers will always tell me, oh, you shouldn't you should lower your voice because you're a girl. And those things and those negative messages became my inspiration and my source of energy, and that pushed me to aim even higher. And today I am here because of all of these things that I went through when I was young. And like, if you ask me 10 years ago, would you even imagine yourself being here? I would say no, because I never thought I would go to university. I never thought I would be able even to graduate from high school, because both of my parents, my grandparents, any of my family members, they never graduated from high school. So for me to become one of the first, including my sister, that will graduate from university this year. It's a huge accomplishment for my family. And at least we were able to change their mindset about girls' education, about girls' role in society, and the cultural stereotypes that always the Somali society gives to young girls and women. So in Somaliland, as I said, it's not a recognized country. So women and girls face a lot of problems and a lot of issues because there's no institutional organization that enforces the laws that the state passed, or like at least the state try to protect the rights of girls and women. Normalized rape, FGM, domestic violence, all of these things are normal in Somaliland. And in Somaliland, we have a conflicting laws, whether you have the constitutional law of the country or you have the religion, and also we have the tribal law. So you have these three conflicting laws. And when something happens to a girl or woman, or even if a woman is getting raped, the society could solve their issue while using any of these laws, and that diminished the rights of women, because women became a secondary when it comes to the policy making, when it comes to the institution level, because it's always, what about, what does the constitution say about this? Not even the constitution, like, people don't use the constitution in my country. They use either like the tribal or the religious, their way of understanding of the religion, as in order to underestimate or make and subjectify and objectify women and their power and their abilities. So in Somaliland, women are not mainly encouraged to be a part of the government, because even if they are encouraged to be a part of the government, they are there as a symbolic figures. They don't have the voice to change and to lead and be active in the community, because they will be seen as a threat, or they will be seen as a weak figure, because at the end of the day, you are a woman, so you're supposed to stay home. So even those ones who are minister or whatever, they are there as symbolic figures, but they do not have the power to change the policy making, to be a part of this institution that could lead a positive change, so at least the rights of girls and women could be protected. So as I told you my story, when I was 6 years old, I also went through FGM, which is the female genital mutilation, which is a ritual practice where there's a total or a partial removal of the external part of the female genitalia. And at least in the world, 30 countries do practice this, and many of them are in African countries and Middle East countries. So it's a widely used practice, even though we don't usually hear from the social media, because at the end of the day, a lot of people do underestimate the impact of this practice. And a lot of countries and communities do associate FGM with their beliefs, or also with their traditional way of preserving culture. So for the Somali community, going through FGM is inevitable. Everyone at least should go through FGM. 98% of the women in my country are survivors of FGM. And even though a lot of people recently are aware of the impact of FGM when it comes to health, when it comes to different way of living, people are aware of it, but still they want to continue, because a lot of people do believe it's a traditional way of preserving women's fertility or women's sexual desires. So women at least could not be at least pregnant, or she will not be sexually active when she's young or before marriage. So it's a way that they could maintain or limit the power or the sexuality of women in their mindset. So that's why a lot of girls, their parents forced them to go through FGM. And of course, it became a generational experience, because when it happens to your mother, your grandmother, it became the fate of every young Somali girl to go through this. So all my siblings and I also experienced FGM. And I remember, like, when I went through FGM, I was 6 years old, but I did not know the impact of it. My mother just told me one day, oh, you have to, this will be it, and you will be a woman. The new phase of you becoming a woman will happen right now. So when I went through FGM, it was so painful, and I was really young, and I was traumatized. And reflecting back on it right now, I remember how painful it was. But at that time, I thought it's like I would be a woman, and I was happy. But because like nobody explained to me the consequences of this practice and how women are imprisoned with this ideology of you have to go through FGM. And so as I grow up, I always had in mind that I have to protect the next generation of young girls in Somaliland, Somali community, because it's my obligation that at least I should leave a footprint, I should leave a legacy. So at least even if I don't win in this struggle or this movement, at least the next generation or my children or my great grandchildren will continue this movement, and at least we'll be able to save a generation of young girls. So with the help of my colleagues, we started an NGO called Solace for Somalian Girls Foundation, which is a non-profit organization with aims to eradicate all forms of female genital mutilation across communities in Somaliland through education and empowerment. And we started this NGO in 2018, and our aim focus was to educate the youth, because at least it's very hard to change the mindsets of older people, because they always connect this with the Sharia law, with the Islamic rules, and also with their tradition. So we were like, okay, since it will take so much time to change their mindset, let's focus on the youth. Let's deconstruct this practice and make sure that it's normal to talk about this movement, just like what the Sudanese did and through the Salima initiative, because Sudan 87% of the women were also survivors of FGM. So last year Sudan was able to criminalize FGM. So we're like, if we start the same approach and we tackle this issue from the youth perspective, I will be able to see some kind of a ripple effect or some kind of positive effect in the near future. And because of the pandemic, especially now, a lot of girls are going through FGM. The number of these girls who go through FGM has increased because the schools are closed, they don't go to outside of their houses. So it became a way that many parents will justify this practice, because now they have more time and girls are not going to school. So the number of girls who experienced FGM last year and this year has increased tremendously. And what we did, especially last year, we tried to organize online initiatives and online campaign awareness where we invite religious figures, we invite doctors, youth activists, and we tell them, talk about this. How can we end this practice? Talk about the religious perspective, because a lot of people side this with the religious and principles. And so at least we were able to invite more people so they can at least listen to their debates and what's going on. And especially also we also started an anti-FGM clubs in Somaliland. So we go to the schools and we try to start small initiatives for the students so they can talk about this. So it will be a club where students can lead their own change, where at least girls will have the time to talk about this. So at the end of the day, when both girls and boys know how harmful this practice is, they will not do to their children in the near future. So this is like some of the events, not the online events that we did, but some of the events that we did in Somaliland, where you could see we have both men and women, especially the youth, who are leading and saying, who are pledging themselves to this movement and to be a part of this awareness campaign, because I believe FGM is not a woman's issue, it's a global issue, it's men's issue, it's everyone's issue. So we have to be connected, we have to be more inclusive, so we will be able to change this drastically, and a change will come sooner. So that's why our aim is to make sure that both boys, men, women, girls, and older people can be a part of this initiative, because it's the only way that we will be able to see some positive change at the end. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, thank you so much, Uba, for your speech. It was, of course, very strong, let me say. I was really impressed to hear actually that during the pandemic, the practice has increased because, you know, you all, I mean, as I said in the beginning of my speech, everything is stopping during this time. Like, you cannot be active, you cannot gather around, you cannot do anything, but this continues. Is, you know, it's really interesting, sad. But also, it's also good to hear that your foundation, first of all, is also really inspiring. How you said that you're trying to change things for the next generation. So you're stepping out of your comfort zone, not for you and your generation, but for the next generation. And I think we all know how difficult it is to fight with the stereotypes and traditions. Traditions that's been coming along for the, you know, several generations. So I think we all applaud you, Ugo, for all your work, let me say. And now we're going to go to the Western Hemisphere, to the United States. Our last but not least speaker, we will hear from Zahra Bilo. She's a civil rights attorney and the executive director of the San Francisco Bay Area of the Council on American Islamic Relations. It's the nation's largest American Muslim civil rights organization. Zahra also provides direct legal services for victims of law enforcement targeting and Islamophobia. So now we'll hear from her, and I was thinking maybe she can tell us about how the new era will be in the United States. So the floor is yours.
Sure, absolutely. Jazakallah khair, Zainab, and Seda, who I've been most in contact with, as well as the event hosts. It's been so nice to hear from so many incredible women who I look up to, Ala, Uba, and my name twin, Zahra, whose journey I've been following for a little while. And it's such an interesting time for women and for Muslims more broadly in the United States and in the world. And I'll speak, you know, from the lens of what is happening in the United States. There are global forces at play seeking to marginalize Islam and Muslims. And as Muslims, we're reminded that Islamophobia is not a new phenomenon, right? It is something that existed from the time that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, brought his message to the Quraysh in Mecca. And I always start there because sometimes it can feel so overwhelming. Like, what am I as one individual person, as one individual activist going to be able to do against these monstrous forces? But these monstrous forces have been here. For as long as we have talked about our faith, as young Muslims, we grow up learning about the challenges that the early Muslims faced in declaring their belief, in challenging the status quo, in fighting back against oppression. They gave, in many cases, their lives and their safety to be able to simply declare that I believe that God is one and that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the last and final messenger. And so it should come as no surprise that those forces continue to oppose Islam and Muslims in the United States and across the world. For many of you, some of you are younger than me. I'm in my 30s now. But for many of us, 30s, 40s, 20s, when we think of Islamophobia as perpetuated by the United States, we think of a post 9/11 context. But again, you know, seating ourselves in history, for those who are aware of the United States and our long track record of human rights abuses, when I think of Islamophobia, I think of the African people who were kidnapped and brought to the United States hundreds of years ago, many of whom were Muslim and were forced to convert to Christianity, many of whom were rebellious because they knew that their religion advocated for freedom and opposed slavery. And so those who would abuse them understood that the Muslims were the most dangerous among them. I think of the United States' support for the creation of the apartheid state of Israel, right, which to this day commits genocide, to put it crassly, commits genocide casually, continues to take the land of Palestinians, deprives them of water, and even just recently is depriving them of COVID vaccines, what many of us in the world are calling medical apartheid. I think of our first invasion of Iraq in the early 90s, and the growth of US military bases across the Muslim majority world. And so when you consider all of those things, and then you consider, okay, where are we now post-Trump, right? All of this makes sense. What we argued in the United States was that Donald Trump didn't break the United States. He exposed what was already happening. And in fact, it wasn't broken. It was all working exactly the way it was supposed to. We're a colonial project with imperialism in our DNA, with slavery in our DNA, with harassment and discrimination and bigotry and xenophobia in our DNA. The silver lining of this moment, though, for the US, and really I think for everyone, is that these conversations are happening globally. That so many of us are converging online, on Zoom, on Twitter, on Facebook, and saying, what are the trends? What is working in Somaliland? What is working in the United Kingdom? What is working in the United States? And how do we build power together? A silver lining of this moment is that we have exposed so much of what is going on, and we are starting to build bridges across continents. In the United States in particular, we just closed the chapter that many of us have said was the most difficult for our lifetimes. We know Islamophobia exists. We know it's in our history. We know how to fight it. But that doesn't mean it's not brutal when it's happening. When the veil is ripped off and we can see exactly what is going on. That said, we closed that chapter. And so as many countries grapple with this question of fascist leaders who are unapologetic in their hatred and in their bigotry, the United States is saying, okay, we need to do better. So we have a new president in office. And many of us are at best cautiously optimistic. There are good days and there are bad days. On a good day, like President Biden's first day in office, he repealed the Muslim ban. The irony of the moment in which he repealed the Muslim ban is that for the first time in many of our lives, Americans cannot go to most countries. We are, in fact, banned. It hurts so much when the mirror is held up to us. And I see some of you laughing and smiling. But yes, I can't travel outside of the United States for the most part. There are very few countries who care for my blue passport, which is something that I've never thought I would experience. On the bad days, we know that President Biden and his administration have yet to get a handle on the influx of migrant children coming across the border. On the bad days, we know that major gaming companies are selling video games that glorify the violence in Iraq. On the bad days, we know that as we approach Ramadan, many of our incarcerated brothers and sisters, people who are sitting in prison in the United States, will not have access to suhoor or iftar or congregational prayers. But they might have access to those things if they were of a different faith. And so what do we do from here? What do we do in this difficult moment as young women, as activists, as Muslims, as people in the United States and really everywhere? The thing that I remind people as we sit in Zoom conferences is that if you have a roof over your head and you know where your next meal is coming from, and frankly, if you have stable internet, you are among the most privileged people in the world. There are people who cannot be on Zoom right now because they are working low-wage jobs, because they don't have internet, because they don't have a home. And so we're asking ourselves this question in the United States, which is to say, how fast can we work and how much can we accomplish and how much time do we have in this window of opportunity? But as Muslims, we believe everything is a window of opportunity. Zara said this so well. She said that if Allah loves you, you wake up every day with the opportunity to do this work. And so there are good days and there are bad days, but every day that we wake up is a window of opportunity. Every day that we wake up with the privileges I listed and so many others is a window of opportunity. As we think about time, the thing that I would urge us to consider is that our time in this life is very limited. Our time in this life is a test. Our time in this life is one of the things we will be questioned about. What did you do? Did you push as hard as you could? Now, throughout this session, you've heard from women who have put everything on the line to protect other women, to protect their communities, and to protect their country. they have taken immense risks. The risks that we study about when we study the companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, they have taken those risks. If we are privileged enough to be in a Zoom together today, I hope the question you will leave with for yourself, the assignment I would give you, is what action will you take? Whether we're talking about oppression in the United States or Europe or Africa or elsewhere, there is so much work to be done. But if you are here, it means that you likely have the power, the tools, and the access to do something about it. The outcome is with Allah. The output is with us. And I, like all of you, want to be able to stand before my Creator on the Day of Judgment and say, Ya Allah, I did everything. I took every gift you gave me. I understood that it was a loan that I would need to do good with. And that is what I did. I understood that none of my blessings were mine to keep, but rather they were mine to share. And I understood that my safety and my success was in your hands. And so I went forward to protect my fellow women, my fellow Muslims, and my fellow countrymen and women. And I did the best that I absolutely could.
Zara, you still have time. Would you like to conclude, or we can actually?
I want to. No.
What we can do is actually we can go to the question
Let's
session.
do that. That's what I'd like
that
to
would
say.
be even better actually, because it will be more interactive and so on. So we can now proceed to the question and answer session. So we have, I think, around 100 participants. So if you can ask your questions by raising your hand, and please also say who you would like your question to be answered by. So okay, so I think technically I will unmute the person, right? So I see Sabrina Ashraf from India raising hand. Can we unmute her?
Hello.
Hi, yes, I think we can hear her. Sabrina Ashraf from India.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Sabrina Ashraf from India. So my question is for Zara Muhammad. As you were talking about Islamophobia, it's right, it's true, Islamophobia is at its peak these days. How can we tackle with Islamophobia? Everywhere Muslims are being labeled as terrorists, like as I am from Kashmir, and it's a very common issue. Everywhere we can see in news, people are Muslims are being labeled as terrorists. If a single person do anything wrong, entire Muslim community is being targeted. This is not found in any other religion except Islam. So how can we tackle this issue?
Thank you so much, Sabrina, and mashallah, it's incredible speaking to you all the way in India and all the way me here in the UK. So yeah, look, this is it is a global phenomenon, Islamophobia. You know, it is everywhere, and it's so strongly, the narrative against us is so strong, and it continues to be perpetuated right from a local level all the way to a leadership level. So you find it in every place. You find it in schools, you find it in employment, you find it in sinister ways. Many people see it as physical abuse. That's not the worst of it. The worst of it is in an inability to attain a job, you know, the discrimination that you get in your opportunities in political life, in a whole country, you know. Look at the Rohingyas, you know, and look at the Uyghurs in China. So it's big and systemic. I think what's really critical, and my advice on the issue, is that as long as we keep it a Muslim issue, we'll always struggle. We have to build allies, and we have to bring allies with us into the conversation. I mean, there's probably a couple of things. Number one is, you know, you got to look at the key stakeholders, the influencers and the decision makers in society, and don't just look to politicians. Look at civil society, you know, NGOs, charitable organizations, faith communities, and you've got to build alliances with them and bring them into the conversation and show that any hatred is divisive and dangerous for all of us. So we all must be united. I think as Muslim communities, we have to be more organized and more politically astute and educated. So we have to understand our power when it comes to voting. We tend to be very politically illiterate, unfortunately, and we don't equip ourselves to understand the system and how it works and how change is actually created. Thirdly, we have to continue to create our own narrative. Either we're a victim to the story or we're the hero. You got to choose, who do you want to be in the story? And often people see as Muslims as, oh, why are you treating me like this? No, this is how we should be treated. So we have to take ownership of those issues, and we have to show leadership too, because it is an issue that affects our community. So we need to be thinking about, well, what does Islam teach us to do? Go out there and lead on sustainability of the environment, lead on the refugee crisis, lead on those general issues that affect all of society, and show the goodness of Muslims in all the conversations, not just in issues that only affect us. I think there's a long journey, and there's a short term and long term, but I think the most powerful thing is that we don't lose hope, and we understand that no matter how many people come against us, inshallah, we'll always overcome it. And ultimately, we need good role models. We need good heroes for young people to look up to and not feel afraid to be Muslim, because that is part of the challenge. Thank you so much. I
think there was a question for Ala as well.
I was just going to say, Zainab, I have to leave, unfortunately.
Okay.
But I didn't know how many questions people had maybe for me. So maybe I could say that you guys could send them to me afterwards and I can respond to you individually, or...
Would you like to leave a representative for your questions?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of questions. If people want to put it in the chat, maybe that would be quicker. And I'll see if I can respond before I have to go. But I'm really sorry. I'm just the life of the Secretary General. I literally have kept...
We thank you for your participation, Zara. Thanks a lot.
No, thank you so much, lovely ladies. It's been a privilege to be amongst you, but I'm in trouble with my team now because I was supposed to be in my meeting 24 minutes ago. And I said,
goodbye.
Assalamualaikum, everyone. Thank you so much. Take care. Lovely meeting you all. Assalamualaikum.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. So, Ala, there was a question for you as well, and I think the translator is also here. So perhaps you can answer the question, and then I can't see him right now, but he can translate it into English.
Yeah, I'm here.
And then we can move on with the next question.
Hello. May I ask a question from Allah?
Sure, you can ask.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm from Pakistan. My name is Saira. I wanted to ask one thing that made you feel weak, and you thought that I should give up, and one thing that made you strong, and you thought you shouldn't give up and you should keep doing the things that you are doing, and inshallah you will be succeed.
مرحبا أستاذ آلاء. السؤال من سارة من باكستان. تسأل إيش الشيء اللي خلاكي، إيش ممكن الشيء الوحيد اللي خلاكي اللي ممكن إنه ضعفك ويخليك إنك تتنازلي عن اللي كنتي بدك تسويه، وإيش الشيء اللي... So can you hear me?
Who is speaking?
So I'm translating to Allah.
Okay, sorry.
Right? So الشيء اللي خلاكي ممكن إنه ضعف فيكي وخليك إنك تتنازلي عن قضيتك، والشيء اللي خلاكي اللي ساعدك، يعني اللي خليكي أقوى عشان تستمري بالقضية.
يعني هسه هم سؤالين، شنو اللي ممكن يضعفك بعد ما وصلتي يعني للحاجة دي، وشنو اللي خلاكي تبقي قوية، صح؟
أيوة، الشيء اللي أضعفك والشيء اللي قواكي.
تمام. الشيء القواني إحنا يمكن دي الروح بتاعة الشباب في السودان. كل الشباب كان جوانا الطاقة وجوانا الحماس، لأنه إحنا في يدنا التغيير المفروض يحصل في السودان، يعني إحنا اللي حنصنع التغيير. الحاجة اللي كانت مختلفة بالنسبة لنا أو بالنسبة لي أنا تحديدا إيماني بالقضية. على قدر ما أنا مؤمنة إنه نحن رح نغير السودان، وإنه السودان لابد إنه يكون في المكان اللي إحنا بنحلم به، على قدر ما الحاجة دي كانت بتديني دافع عشان أنا أطلع يوم بعد يوم بعد يوم. الحاجة الإضافية إنه إحنا كل ما كنا بنطلع كنا بنزداد قوة أكتر. يعني وإحنا في المواكب وأثناء ما هي تتعرض للقمع الغير مبرر، لما أنا أرجع البيت كويسة بقول أنا رجعت عشان أنا بكرة تاني أرجع وتاني أواصل في طريقي. ما إحنا طلعنا وما بين يوم وليلة خلاص الثورة حتنتهي والموضوع ينتهي. لا، إيماننا بالقضية هو اللي أدانا دافع للاستمرارية ونطلع يوم بعد يوم بعد يوم. بالنسبة للسؤال بتاع شنو خلاكي تقوى، الإيمان. طالما أنت مؤمنة بالحاجة اللي أنت بتعملي فيها، طالما أنت عندك حلم معين عايزة تصلي له، فأيا كانت العقبات اللي بتلاقيك في طريقك أنت قادرة إنك تتغلب عليها بإيمانك وبإصرارك. قد يكون كمان يعني الحاجة دي كل إنسان في الحياة عنده ظروف معينة هو بيعيشها، عنده عقبات معينة في حياته، بس يمكن الجامع بيننا كلنا اللي بيخلينا إننا نقدر نواصل قدر شنو أنت متمسك بحلمك ومؤمن بفكرتك، وقدر شنو أنت قادر إنك تقدم عشان ما تصل للحالة اللي أنت بتحلم بها. كمان إحنا بنقول إنه في السودان الحرية كان ثمنها غالي جدا، فإحنا قدمنا أرواح ودماء طاهرة جدا في سبيل الحرية. كان ممكن أكون أنا، كان ممكن تكون أختي عشان هي معي في المواقف، كان ممكن صاحبتي، كان ممكن أي ذول فينا. وفقدت أصدقائي يعني هم نحتسبهم شهداء إن شاء الله في أحداث ضد القيادة العامة. بس ده بيديك دافع أكثر عشان أنت تستمر في الطريق اللي هو العهد بيننا وبين شهداء الثورة. احنا مو ممكن الليلة نقيف وعشان احنا تعبنا وعشان الوضع مثلا بقى صعب اكتر نحس اننا احنا ما قادرين نعمل حاجة. الشهيد عبد العظيم من شهداء الثورة ديسمبر عنده مقولة بيقول: لقد تعبنا يا صديقي ولكن لا يمكننا الاستيقاظ اثناء المعركة. يعني احنا تعبنا لكن ما ممكن، احنا لسه في معركة، احنا لسه بنجاهد، احنا لسه بنناضل عشان نوصلنا، فممكن التعب يوقفنا، هنرجع على نقطة الصفر زي كأننا ما بدينا حاجة. فلازم يكون في استمرارية.
نايف sorry نايف
okay
you can interrupt يعني
no, she can finish. I'm taking notes.
okay.
ممكن تستمر لي أستاذ آلاء. النقطة الثانية بخصوص الشيء اللي ممكن إنه ضعفك.
ما حاسة إنه في حاجة ممكن تضعفني، لأنه أنا حاسة إنه أنا ما حأجيف أبدا إذا ما حققت كل الحاجات اللي أنا بحلم إني أعملها. وإنه أشوف الحرية والسلام والعدالة اللي هي شعارات ثورتنا أشوفها محققة على أرض الواقع. وكمان في طريقي اللي أنا أوريدي شغالة عليه واللي هو مجال من واقع اهتمامي، يعني إنه هو أنا حاسة إنه التعليم هو الأداة الحقيقية اللي إحنا ممكن نغير بها المجتمع. فأنا شغالة على القضايا المجتمعية التعليمية، فبحس إنه أنا بعمل في حاجة ما ممكن، في حاجة ممكن تضعفني في الدنيا أو تخليني إنه أنا أجي في حس إنه أنا ما قادرة أعمل حاجة. ما حاسة إنه الحاجة دي ممكن إنها تحصل أبدا. يعني لو كانت إحنا أيام المواكب كنا بنشوف الموت، ويعني ما في الموت في حد ذاته إحنا كنا بنشوفه. يعني في الموكب بتلقى وقت الرصاص الحي يضرب الناس ممكن بتقع حوالينا من كل مكان، ممكن كان تلقى تكون فيك أنت وممكن تموت. فإحنا شوفنا الموت وما وقفنا، ما خفنا، ما رجعنا، ما استسلمنا، بالعكس واصلنا أكثر. فأنا ما حاسة إنه في حاجة حتوقفني، لأنه أنا عندي قضية عظيمة أنا حعيش عشان أحققها.
Okay, so Sarah from Pakistan, the answer to your question first, what make her strong to continue or to keep the case moving is, first, there are two things. First, the spirit of the youth, the people that were going out, and she was going out with them. Their spirit was motivating and inspiring. And the second thing is the belief of your case and the belief of the idea, as she believed that Sudan should be in a better place, and this was always a drive for her to continue and to go out day by day, not just for one day, because going out is not just for one day or the next day to make a change, but it should be consistent, which drive them to go out every day for that. So what she mentioned also is that you should have a belief. If you have a dream and you believe in it, nothing will stop you. There will always be some obstacles in the way, but you will always overcome them if you have a belief in your case. So for what could make her weak, according to her, there is nothing that could make her, because of her belief in the case, in the idea, and that Sudan should get should reach to where they wanted to be. And the three perils of the revolution, which they were calling for, which is freedom, peace and justice. Those are the three things that motivated them and drove them to continue the movement and to make a change. And she also indicated that you should always have a belief in your case if you want to achieve something. And she also quoted a saying from one of the protesters who died. I forgot the name, but what he said is, he said that we got tired, but we cannot stop here. If I can say it right, we have to continue as we are already out. Yes, thank you.
Thanks. So another question, Salma Bikbik. I don't know if I pronounce the surname correctly, but is raising a hand. So
hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
But we can see you.
Great.
We can see you.
Actually, I'm having a question to. Yeah, cool. Thank you so much. Exactly, I'm not turning off my camera because I'm outside.
Okay.
Is there
so your question is to?
My question. My apology. Hello.
Yes, we are listening to you, Salma.
Bilu. Okay, great. So my question is actually to Zahra, and I just want to ask her a very important question.
Salma, sorry.
I usually get, and they don't have an answer for. I'm actually like a social activist.
Sorry, Salma. I think Zahra Bilu is not here. She left. I think you can send your question to her via email. She left her email to the chat box.
Oh no. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. It's okay. I will just send her an email. Okay. Thank you.
Another question from Zulfikar Ali Memon. Hello. Is she here? Zulfikar Ali Memon, can you unmute yourself, please?
Hello, everyone. I am not the female participant here. Probably I'm not allowed to sit here, but I joined just because I want to share my experiences. Am I allowed to say something?
Actually, we're running out of time. So if you have a question, a direct question, it's okay. But sharing experiences, I think we have to finish this session right now out of respect for the speakers of the next session. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank
you. Okay. Well, thank you all, everyone. First of all, to our speakers for sharing their experiences, answering our questions. We will now give a small break, but not a silent break. We will have a mini virtual piano concert by Sabina Kutyaeva. And after that, the program will go on with the final session titled Young Female Athletes, which I'm sure will be very interesting. So it was nice being here with you all, and have a nice meeting, have a nice musical break.
Excuse me.
Hello, dear participants, ladies, and all who are watching us right now. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to be part of the summit. It's such a pleasure to listen tremendous inspiring speeches on summit days and acknowledge once again how powerful and influential can be women in society at different levels of our life. My name is Sabina. I'm currently a PhD student at Istanbul Technical University. I'm lucky to be here in Turkey as a musician to study and create music. Hopefully, music and the art will motivate all of us to make life better for our future. And now it's my pleasure to share with you some minutes of classical music on piano. I hope you'll enjoy it. I'm going to play the Rivers Flowing You. I hope you can take my sound well, right? Can you hear me well?
Yeah, we can hear you well.
Great. The next piece I'm going to play is the Chopin, the Valse. And okay. Thank you. I think that's all.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks. That was lovely, lovely. I think it's really difficult for musicians to play without an audience or an online audience, right? Without hearing the applause and everything. But it was really wonderful, wonderful. So we thank you. And look, you see, silence, applause. So thank you so much, and thank you all. Now we're gonna move to the next session, and I'm gonna leave the floor to Pervin, who will be the host of this next session.